Okay, hi, how are you? I am Chief Dean Rondeau with the Wolfeboro Police Department, and to my left is Captain Mark Livy, my able-bodied executive officer, and welcome to another segment of Coffee and Connections with the Chief. And it's hard to believe, Captain, that we're into the month of March. So kind of an exciting month for us. First and foremost, and most importantly, this is my birthday month. So 21 March is my birthday. And gee, if you're in the area, stop in and we can sit down, have a cup of coffee, and you can wish me a happy birthday. That being said, the other big exciting thing that happens in March is the vote, right? The town vote for the town budget and all the warrant articles and so forth and so on. So this is your opportunity to watch democracy in action and to go ahead and have a say in how your town is governed and the resources that go into make everything happen. So 10 March at the Town Hall Great Hall. The polls open at 8 in the morning and they run until 7 p.m. Folks, if you are going to vote, and I hope you do, get in, get out as quickly as possible. It gets very, very busy there, and it's a long day for the poll workers. So come in, show up, vote, however you see fit. I would hope that you vote for the operating budget at a minimum, but go ahead and vote and exercise that constitutional right that you have. There's a lot of places in the world where one simply does not have the luxury to vote on how the towns or municipalities or states are governed, and this is your opportunity to exercise that very important right. So please get out and vote and have a good time doing it. That being said, the only other thing I want to talk a little bit about is in February, the beginning of the month, toward the beginning of the month, we had two almost back-to-back critical incidents that involved firearms. In both instances, shots were fired in anger. In both instances, we arrested the perpetrator very quickly without further incident and kept the community safe. That's important to note. Like other police departments in the area, the Wolfeboro Police Department is resource constrained. We don't always have the resources we want, but we do the best job we can with those resources. That being said, when critical cases or critical incidents like these, felony level matters like these occur, they are not in my purview to prosecute. We build the case for the next law enforcement agency above us. In this particular case, it would be the county attorney's office. In the event of a homicide, for example, it would be the Attorney General's office of the state of New Hampshire. When these cases are forwarded to those law enforcement agencies, the ability for me to release information is severely hampered. The responsibility to release information rests with the agency that's doing the prosecution. And some people may not agree with that, but those are the rules that we live by here in this state, and they are indeed the rules that other law enforcement agencies across the country follow as well. With that being said, in the future, and I understand the need. Please understand this. I understand the need very, very, very clearly to let the public know what's going on, to at least let them know that they are safe. With that being said, I think what we will do is adopt a little bit different policy where we may not be able to give all the information, all the critical information, but at least we'll be able to let the public know that they're safe, that there's going to be police presence in the area as we look to gather evidence or we look to ensure that the scene is safe or what have you, and follow all the normal police protocols. We may not be able to give you all the information that you think you need or you think you deserve, and that will have to unfortunately come from that law enforcement agency executing the prosecution. But at a minimum, we can at least let you know that A, something has happened, and B, that the scene is safe, you're safe, the perpetrator has been arrested, or that you need a shelter in place. So that being said, look for those press releases to be coming out when we do have a critical incident similar to what we had last February. Additionally, we're going to be releasing or initiating Code Red shortly, probably next month sometime in April or so. We're still working out a few of the bugs. So just let me talk a little bit about that. That is a near real-time communications platform that we can manage right out of Central Dispatch. It's a very, very powerful communications platform. It allows us to get information out, text messaging out, and other warnings on a wide variety of situations. You can manage this and sign up for it through your smartphone with an app that is available. It's free. Right, so again, let me say it's free. It's a very, very powerful tool. This is something that you should sign up for, something that I think you and the whole family can use. Everybody actually should have it, and it's a way for the police department and the state to get critical information out to our citizens and residents and guests in a very, very timely fashion, almost near real time, within maybe literally a nanosecond or two from when the dispatcher or dispatch supervisor punches the button to alert, and we can alert literally scores of thousands of people near simultaneously. So the old-fashioned way would have been having to make a phone call or dial numbers into the phone. This will do it automatically. All you have to do is sign up, and you can sign up for all sorts of different types of alerts and notifications. So it is something that we would want you to take advantage of. Again, it's called Code Red. Soon on our Facebook page and on the town's page, there'll be links to it. There'll be descriptions of how you can sign up and what you have to do, and just follow the instructions. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Captain Mark Livy, and he's going to go into some operational statistics. I know that's not what everybody wants to hear, but I think some of these are really interesting, so you're going to want to stay tuned. Here you go, Captain.
All right, thanks, Chief. And just to go a little with the Code Red there, as you mentioned before, we are going to get something out on our Facebook page. So if you don't know how to download the app, you'll find it, what it looks like. And but most smartphones, all smartphones, will carry it, and it's just an amazing tool for us. We really can map the area that we really want to get a notification out to the public. So it's going to be a great tool to use. But yeah, let's get into this. But before I do that, let's talk about the police side here with Officer Church. So March 1st, he's finished his
Congratulate him.
Yeah,
He's done.
his FTO, his field training. So he is out on his own. So he's happy. It's nice to just be in the cruiser by yourself and nobody's sitting there with a piece of pen looking at you and writing everything down. So yeah, it's a good moment for him to be done with this, especially when this started back in July. July 1st is when he first got hired. So that's the process. It takes a while. He'll be out there with other officers, so he's not by himself. So he's excited for that. So let's get down to these numbers and what the chief was talking about, statistics, and why we do this. It helps us basically show for staffing purposes and how to get it. Yeah, I mean, it really does tell a story. If we go back, I like to do 5 years because then you get the 5-year average. And most budgets, that's how they kind of look at things, is your 5-year average on what's going on. So if we go back to 2015, which is a long time ago, if you think about it, but time does go by fast. Our incidents back then, we had a total for the year of 446. Now, if you go to 2016, we had 478. As you see here, there's an increase every year. As we get to 2017, there's 586. We get to 2018, it's 570, so it stayed pretty average there. But last year, 2019, we really jumped to 631. That's a tremendous jump. And if you look at your first year back in 2015, which you had 446, and now you're looking at 631, there's a lot of, it's a large increase. You want to look at the 5-year average for incidents for 2009. Well, we'll go back to 2017. We'll start there, as you'll see what the pattern kind of goes on with. So 2017 5-year average, and that goes back down to 2013, is 471 incidents. In 2018, the average is 501. And with 2019, which is last year, it's 542. So as you see it's climbing. It's climbing. So that's what that means is that's a lot more work for us and our officers that are out there, because there's a lot more calls. Is that due to many things? Is more people coming up here during the summer? The tourist area? Is there more people here during the everyday year? I mean, if you look at that for our population, we'll find that out when the census comes out. So let's get down to arrest. So back in 2015, our total arrests for the year were 297. 2016, they went up to 315. 2017, they went up to 354. And then you had 2018, it went up to 318. And last year, it went to 358. So same thing, our 5-year average, there's an increase there. So if you look at the 2017 5-year average is 317. 2018 is 316, which is pretty steady. And 2019, it jumped up to 328. So you're looking at that, there's a little steady, but then there's an increase for our for arrest. But if you get a lot more incidents, if you look at that, that's a lot more investigations, a lot more work, a lot more writing. It puts our officers not as much on the road, but we're trying to do that through the MBTs as 2019, as we get full staff and all the cruisers. So you'll see them out on the road more trying to get their work done. It gets people into certain areas and for those problem areas for arrests and stuff like that. Now we'll look at arrests real quick. Accidents or crashes, we call them. 2015, we had 135. 2016, we had 146. 2017, we had 157. 2018, we had 168. And then last year, we actually had a decrease of 150, which is really good. That's good. That one we don't want to increase. We want to see a decline on that. But unfortunately, we only saw it in 1 year there from 2018 to 2019. But so your 5-year average to 2017 is 148. 2018 is 148, so it stayed steady. And 2019 is 151. So those are pretty steady numbers, which is good because if you look at everything else, your incidents and your arrests, you have an increase. In your accidents, you're trying to keep that. You're actually trying to get a decrease there, but as long as you can try to keep it even, that's a good statistic there, because what are we looking at? We're looking at more people coming up here during the summer months, which last year was very busy for us. Or is there more people here, which the census will show that. So to keep that down, we're assuming there's more cars in this general area. So yeah, you might have a little increase, but is that really an increase with the amount of traffic that we do have? Those I can't give you a definite answer to that, but that's what we're kind of assuming there. But overall, the pattern there, as you see, is all our work as they're going through the incidents, through the arrests and the crashes, everything's going up. So the town's getting busy, well, at least for us. We'll look at it, but that's all I got there. Nothing really to go on to dispatch, and I'll give this back to the chief because I know he's probably got something to elaborate more on this.
Yeah, I just want to point out that so the captain did some really good work here on these numbers, and one thing that jumps out at me when I look at these numbers in the 5-year averages is that remember that for about the last 5 years, the Wolfeboro Police Department has been in a state of flux in terms of personnel, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, so, any organization you want to minimize your turnover, and I think we do that pretty well in the Wolfeboro PD. But we have a fairly, if you will, for lack of a better term, elderly staff. Most of my sergeants and above have anywhere between 12 to 26 years in service, depending on who we're speaking of. So we have a fairly mature staff, especially at the sergeant and above level. So many of those officers are ready for retirement, and that's what we've seen over the last about 5 years. We've seen a number of our very senior officers, whether they're patrolmen or whether were sergeants, just simply retire and move on. And so we've had gaps, we've had vacancies, and it takes us a time. And you heard the captain talk a little bit about Officer Church, and how long it was a 16-week academy training program followed by an 8-week FTO program. So he's really been training for the better part of 6 months at this point, and of course that just speaks to how much time we put into and how much effort we put into training our officers, right? The point is that these numbers are increasing, and they're not increasing because we're adding staff. To the contrary, we have gaps in coverage. We have gaps in our staff that are having to be manned either on overtime or by part-time officers. So we're not increasing staff, we're decreasing staff, but yet these numbers, these arrests and the incidents continue to go up. So that's very telling. One could say, well, they added an officer or they added 2 officers, and that's why the arrests are up. No, that's not the case here at all. And in fact, we've had vacancies for about the last 5 years or so, and it seems that as quickly as we fill one of those vacancies and we get an officer back out on the road, we lose an officer to retirement. So, and that's really the way it's been going. Hopefully, at the end of this year, we will stabilize, but time will tell. Captain?
Yeah. And to go on with that, so I know everyone looks at if you do look at our Facebook or even our webpage, you'll see the list of officers that we do have, and you'll see that there's 14 down there. But remember, we're a 24/7 operation. So we cover from from midnight, 12:01 to 11:59 all day, 24 hours. So if you look at that, with 14 officers, we have special assignments for a lot of our officers that are out there, like Officer Llewellyn, who's up at the school Monday through Friday. Now that's a very large complex, not just the school, but we're talking, not just the high school. So you have the high school, you have the middle school, and the vocational school, which is all in one. Then you have Crescent Lake, which is farther behind it, and then you have Carpenter School, and then you have Lakeside Academy too. So all together, just under 2,000. We're So that's a large population that he just covers with the assistance of our patrol. Throughout there. So he's pretty much assigned up there. And then we have Detective Emerson, who takes all of our felony cases, which on a monthly thing at his commissioners meeting, he gives those stats out, what he does on a weekly basis and how all his cases that he acquires on a monthly basis and what he's actually closing out on cases and new open cases. So if you see that on the commissioners meeting, but he's busy. He isn't out and really in patrol. We do use him here and there due to the fact of our staffing right now, because Officer Church is trying to get back in there. And as I mentioned last month, we were in the process of a background on another officer, which he'll go to the academy in April. So I believe it's April, somewhere in the end of April there. So it's busy there, so we're down a couple of things. So I do pull him here and there to cover shifts, and we have our part-time officers too. So during patrol, we try to get to the minimum of 2 officers that are out there on patrol on our streets. Yes, we're out Monday through Friday on the day. We try to get out there, but our days become busy with meetings, certain things like this, and other functions that are already scheduled for us. so on a day-to-day basis. But I mean, we also have the budget to worry about. We have the operations to worry about. We have other functions that are coming in that we have to plan ahead and get that all set for our officers. So I mean, we're already looking at July 4th. If you look at that, I mean, look how far away that is right now. And we're trying to prepare for that with our staffing that looks like going into the summer months. So. That's what we're looking at right now, and then I mean that's basically it. I mean, we try to get those 2 officers that are patrolling the town to provide the service that you need out in the streets. So I'll pass this along to the chief.
So thank you very much. That was a nice wrap up from the captain. Bottom line is that the town is getting busier. It's not slowing down. And the activity is continuing to increase. And as the population density increases, so won't the activity. I think that goes hand in glove. So we will continue to do the best job we can with the resources that were provided. Just be mindful that we are a bit resource constrained. So please, on 10 March, get out and vote. And at least at a minimum, I would hope and trust that you would vote for the operating budget, which is very important. Obviously, without that, we would be very hampered without those resources to be able to provide a safe and secure environment for all of our residents and guests. Folks, I want you to have a great day. Thank you very much for tuning in to another segment of Coffee and Connections with the Chief, and I am Chief Dean Rondeau, and I am joined by Captain Mark Livy, and we wish you a very happy March. Oh, and don't forget, we have Evacuation Day coming up, right? And you're going to say, now, what is Evacuation Day? So if you grew up in Middlesex County or Suffolk County, Massachusetts, you know exactly what Evacuation Day is, but let me help you out here. A little piece of historical trivia. So if you remember your Revolutionary War history, Ethan Allen and Colonel Henry Knox and some of the Green Mountain Boys went over and they took a little fort from the British on the banks of Lake Champlain called Fort Ticonderoga, and they disassembled the cannons. And then they moved the cannons overland on the heavy snows, over the snows being pulled by oxen cart. And they moved the cannons to the heights overlooking Boston. Those would be Dorchester Heights, if you're from the Boston area. And on the 17th of March, 1776, the British woke up to the sight of cannons overlooking Boston and all of Boston Harbor, and the British realized that they had been outmaneuvered, and the British evacuated Boston, never to come back. So we of course, us good Bostonians and Canterbridgians, and I'm a Canterbridgian, I'm from Cambridge, Mass. We celebrate that as Evacuation Day. And of course, it just happens to coincide with everybody's favorite Irish holiday, St. Paddy's Day. So there you have it. So happy St. Paddy's Day, happy Evacuation Day. And again, thank you for joining us with Coffee and Connections with the Chief. Thank you. Have a great March. Hi, welcome back to Coffee and Connections with the Chief, and this is your safety tip of the month. And so two things I want to talk about. One, of course, is near and dear to my heart. Stay off the ice. It's springtime. The ice is melting. Get your bobsleds off. Get your bob houses off, and stay off the ice. It's dangerous out there, and be careful. But don't venture out. The lake is warming up, and pretty soon it's going to be spring, and the ice is very thin. So be safe. Again, if you go through the water, even though the lake is warming up, if you go through the water right now, it's still pretty cold out there. So be safe. But be awfully mindful of the thickness of the ice, and if you are going to be out there, just please be safe. Call Fish and Game if you have any questions about ice thickness or the safety on the lakes. Okay. Second is, and I'm going to put my, if you will, I'm going to put my public safety hat on here in a moment. Talk a little bit about a topic not necessarily police related, but a safety topic nonetheless. If you're ill, if you're feeling ill, you think you have a cold or the flu, do not come into work. stay home, folks. If you've had these symptoms and they've persisted for more than 3 to 5 days, you need to go and get checked out by your primary care physician, or get up to the hospital and be checked out by the emergency room staff. Whatever the case, don't spread this around. The flu this year has been no joke, no fooling. It's taking a toll on our workforce. It is a very, very strong strain of the flu. So please be safe. Do your coworkers a favor. If you're sick, stay at home. Do not come in. Do not spread this around. Let this burn itself out. And the only way to do that is if you contract the flu, go ahead and stay at home. To avoid the flu, obviously, drink lots of fluids, get plenty of rest, cut back on your libations, and wash your hands. Wash your hands constantly throughout the course of the day. All right, the flu is often spread by droplets and can be picked up from tabletops and doorknobs and so forth and so on. So please wash your hands and do all the things that you normally would do to remain healthy, but get plenty of sleep, hydrate, and if you do feel something coming on, please stay at home. Don't spread this. Don't be contagious to your coworkers. Thank you very much for tuning in to Coffee and Connections with the Chief. I'm Chief Dean Rondeau, and I'll see you next month. Thank you. Bye-bye.